Suicide. It's not a subject anyone likes to think long about. But here in Vermont, the number of people who take their own lives is on the higher end of the national spectrum. And suicide by teens is also high. In fact, it's the second leading cause of death in Vermont after accidents and ahead of homicides. Nationally, suicide rates are the highest they've been in 30 years, with a teen dying by suicide every 90 minutes somewhere around the country. That helped prompt the Stratton Foundation, a nonprofit group that assists local charitable organizations, to host a presentation by the Vermont Suicide Prevention Center at the Manchester Community Library on Monday, November 5th, followed by a second day of discussions with local teachers and school administrators about the early warning signs and prevention techniques. The Stratton Foundation's executive director, Tammy Mosier, explains what led them to sponsor the sessions.
The Stratton Foundation's mission is to care for the well-being of the youth in our area, from basic necessities to warmth and food and just, all those things that stand in the way of a child being able to survive and thrive and succeed. And so this spring, we started to receive donations in honor of a young man named Nathan Carrera. And I didn't really know what was happening. And so finally, with some more information, learned that the young man had passed away on March of 2018. And in lieu of flowers, the family asked that donations be directed to the Stratton Foundation to honor Nathan's passion for skiing and compassion for the area. They're one of these families that has been involved in the Stratton Foundation for a long time. They have a home here, they come here every weekend, they ski, and just wanted to give back to the area and the mountain that had given them so much, and it's where Nathan's heart was. So all of those donations created the Nathan M. Carrera Endowment Fund. And in addition, the parents, Karen and Michael Carrera, wanted to do something more immediate. So I connected with Burton Academy, who directed me towards the You Matter program through the United Health Counseling, and it was a perfect match. So we're doing an event for community, parents, caregivers, as well as an event at Burton Academy for faculty and teachers from around the region. We have a representative from most every school in the area that's going to be attending.
One of the presentation leaders of the library was Debbie Haskins, a suicide program specialist with the Center for Health and Learning based in Brattleboro. She talked with us before the start of her presentation at the library about suicide and what to watch for.
Across the nation, and for the last 10 years, it's been going steadily up. And in Vermont, it's the second leading cause of death for our youth, ages 12 to 16 years old. But it's also the second leading cause of death for our young adults in their 20s. And it's also the leading cause. It's also a very high cost for someone who is over 65 years old and who's a white male as well. So it's not just youth that we want to help people understand. Is we need to teach people seeking help is okay. Knowing that you're not feeling okay is something not to be ashamed of, and asking for help. Across the nation, every age bracket is actually going up in suicide. And there's a lot of factors that go into this. It's not just one thing. And sometimes when there's been a death by suicide, people focus in on the last thing that occurred. And we know that the risk factors are everything from substance use, mental health disorders, disenfranchised youth, lesbian, gay, transgender youth. So there are certain risk factors that put you in that risk pool, if you will. And that makes you more vulnerable to actually taking your own life. What we know about youth is they're impulsive, and they often do impulsive things, and we need to really protect them and help them in that time, because they use lethal means. They use guns, they get behind the wheel of a car, and we really need to help youth understand is that when you're feeling an emotion that's very intense, there are some other things you can do about it. One of the things that we know, because we've actually had a long conversation with suicide survivors, those that have attempted suicide and have not died by it. And what they often talk about is the pain that they're in, and they're trying to figure out a way to get away from the pain. So what we need to teach is how you deal with pain and what are some positive solutions. A sense of belonging is very important for everyone, not just youth. If we don't feel like we belong, we're much more likely to be disenfranchised and disengaged in life and not seek answers. So
One of the anomalies of suicide is that it claims the lives of males far more often than females. Haskins explained some of the factors here.
because males choose lethal means much more likely than a young female would. There again, so they're using guns, they're using cars, and they're using knives and hanging. Whereas females tend to use, not so much anymore, but because that's rising, but they tend to use pills, something that can actually be intervened on, and are much more likely to tell someone than a male will.
Bullying on social media is another factor, she said.
So the words do hurt. How someone talks to us and how we feel day after day, our sense of self and sense of being. And I think one of the difficult things now with social media is because it's constant. Whereas years ago, if somebody bullied me, I could walk away from them. I didn't have to deal with it, or I could just, go somewhere and be somewhere different. Now it follows you, if you will. If you don't have good boundaries, or you don't have, if you got your cell phone on all the time, you've got bullying going 24 hours a day. And youth don't always have the skills at 12 years old, 10 years old, 13 years old, even 15 or 20 years old, to be able to say that, no, that's not okay. And it's very hurtful. It's not just being mean anymore. It's, I wish you were dead. So very different kinds of conversations that happen in the technological world, I think, without adults around to see it.
For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.